the Bridgeport. Pardon me?
Well, I thought you were going to call this the Bridgeport Scholarship Program.
No. You got to go.
All right. I have been told to keep this short and sweet, so I am Melissa Pauley, the Executive Director of the Miss Bridgefest Scholarship Program. We are an affiliate of the Miss Michigan Scholarship Program and the Miss America organization. I would like to thank the Birch Area Chamber of Commerce for allowing us to come back again this year. We did crown a new title holder on Sunday at Bridgeport High School, so we have Chelsea Nedrow here, who is Miss Bridgefest 2015, who will go on to Miss Michigan in June to represent us. So I'm going to turn it over to her, and she's going to talk about herself and the platform that she represents. So come on up, Chelsea.
Good evening. As she said, my name is Chelsea Nedrow. I'm so excited to be your new Miss Bridgefest 2015. I'm 23 years old. I grew up in a small town called Wolverine Lake. It is about an hour south of here, and it's very community oriented. So I love that I'm here, and I feel that you guys have a great sense of community as well. I've been dancing since I was about 2.5. Like I said, I'm 23, and I guess for the Detroit Pistons this year. So go Pistons, are doing better, and they're playing tonight. So I want to start off by telling you a little bit of my inspirations and why I became part of the Miss America organization. It all began in middle school. I had the opportunity to perform in a high school musical in my area, and I got to meet Kirsten Haglund there. I don't know if any of you know who Kirsten Haglund is. She was a local title holder, Miss Oakland County. She then became Miss Michigan, and then in 2008 she was Miss America. So someone from such a small place as mine, she came from just around the corner from me, she got to be Miss America and became a little bit more popular, if you could imagine. Miss America is a little popular. For me, it was awesome to see that she was such a humble woman before, but also such a humble woman after. And that's what I found so inspiring about Kirsten Haglund. And it also inspired me to become a part of the organization as well. The first time I stepped foot in a pageant setting, I was able to dance at the Miss Michigan State Pageant, and I was in middle school. And I was the Miss Michigan dancers, so we were the backup. And I got to see the girls. They were so gorgeous, so intelligent, full of knowledge, full of passion, and they all had their platforms and what they were very inspired by themselves. So I got to see that, and it definitely got me hooked. I got the bug. I attended my first local pageant when I was 17 years old, and then I went to college in Arizona. I graduated from the University of Arizona. I got a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Dance, and then I got a minor in Special Education and Rehabilitation. So I plan to go back to school and hopefully get a degree in furthering dance and movement therapy. When I was in Arizona, I participated in an event called the Second Annual Dance Marathon, and that was set on by an organization called Beads of Courage. After participating in that event, I got to meet a child that was directly affected by that organization, and it got me hooked. I loved it, and I knew that it was something that I wanted to get involved in my life. So the Beads of Courage organization provides tangible objects. They provide beads for kids that are in hospitals fighting life-threatening illnesses. So these beads are acquired by acknowledging these children's accomplishments. There's something the kids look forward to, and they're a way for the kids to tell their story of what treatments they go through. Many of these kids end up with nearly 1,000 beads. And it's just crazy to think that someone so young can go through so much. So last June, I decided to create my own event. I called it a bead bag marathon. I had 8 volunteers of my own, and we sewed and constructed 84 bead bags in about 4 hours. So that was a great accomplishment. And these bead bags will go all over the world. Not only are there only 2 hospitals in Michigan that provide the Beads of Courage organization, but there's over 100 hospitals across the US, New Zealand, Japan, and most recently New England. So after making it a point for Beads of Courage to be in my life, I definitely started to think differently about the Miss America program. Not only am I 23 now, instead of 17, I found an organization that I find very important to promote and something that I want to devote my time to. The older I've grown, the more I realize that this title is less about the crown, but more about being that role model that Kirsten Hagelin was to me. It allows me to further my education with scholarship, and it also allows me to give my services to my community around me. I have the opportunity to learn and expand my knowledge. Life in the real world is always scary, but the Miss America organization provides us girls with experiences, opportunities, and tools that we need today to become successful. I look forward to spending my time as Miss Bridgefest, getting to know my community and all of you. If there's anything that I can help with, anything that I can become involved with or be a part of, I ask that you give me the opportunity. I want to work with you guys. So that's a little about me, and I hope to see you guys this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. You know, sometimes the best place to hide is right up front, and I missed Bridgeport Township trustee Jennifer Dennis. Now it is my pleasure to introduce a young man who has inspired me. He's inspired me for quite some time. His talents are enormous. The banner that Mr. Suski is standing in front of, he created that for us. He has created a clothing line. He has done a number of signs, signs that we use for some of our chamber events, signs that have been put up at businesses on cranes. His talents are remarkable, and the fact that he has done all these things with just a little bit of a challenge, and yet doesn't look at that challenge as something to hold him back. It's always something to push forward and to inspire people with disabilities across the state of Michigan. I'd like to introduce and bring to the podium Mr. Eric Thomas.
Hello? Yes. Introduction, thank you. And congratulations. And thank you. Good luck. Maybe push it forward. Oh, now. What is going on with the wire? Do you hear that? Okay, cool. Well, as Mike did say, I've done a lot of things, many talents, and the obstacles that I've faced. I'm going to make sure it's not going out. You know, you're the fighter.
a song and dance routine, but you guys know.
You can hear the wire. Sorry, my diaphragm only projects like 15%. I can demonstrate my chair. Way to control the chair is a hard pull forward. Hard pull forward and a hard step backwards. Soft step right and a soft step left. I'm gonna show you real quick. I just was teaching them how to do the chair. I'm gonna go real quick. Forward. Right. Left. That's my mobility. That's how I do it. The other one off. All right, now that we've taken up. This is great technical difficulties. How about now? Like I said, if you hold it right there, we'll just try that for shit. So, as I was, I just demonstrated my chair. When Mike first called me and asked me to speak, I was like, what do we talk about? He said it's the Chamber of Commerce. We talk about owning a business, overcoming obstacles, inspired. And he was like, well, the whole thing's about inspiring. He said, there's a lot of different people that are fire and passion and business people. I was like, okay, cool. So one of the things that I said, well, okay, he just said, tell your story, because that's what I find inspiring. So I wasn't always using the wheelchair that I just demonstrated for you. Nice laugh. But about 17 years ago, I was going to Lansing Community College, 2 jobs, hip-hop artist. Was going to college for photography. And we had a elk release party, my group miscellaneous. We had it at the house. Professional thing to have an elk release party, we usually do it like in a professional setting like this, But we had it at the house. We're 20 years old, there's obviously some underage drinking, things like that. And I go out to check the parking lot to make sure to see that people aren't messing with my neighbors' yard and things, just keeping things in order. And I go back up to the steps and I am talking to someone in front of me. And then either out of nowhere, either someone on foot or they're in a car. It's there's still questions about it. But someone pulled a gun and opened fire and I got shot. We know for sure that I was shot in the neck and the third vertebrae because I still have the bullet in my third vertebrae. There is a piece of skin in the back of my head, like where a line is. Whether another one grazed by, we don't know, but we're sure I'm the one. And at that time, when it happened, I fell back and I lost the ability to breathe, to speak, to do anything, even to move. And laying there, conscious and unconscious, and out of consciousness, looking up at the sky, in and out. And the first thing you would think that all your friends or the people that were around you, your entourage, they're going to come to your rescue, right? No, wrong. There was only a very few that stuck around. The other ones was more like, I'm going to take care of myself. I need to get out of here. It was, a very humbling experience to see people in their selfish nature, or you just never know how you guys would react when something like that may happen. I was lucky that I had a person taking EMT classes that was inside my house that actually came out and stabilized me until the ambulance came and emergency room. To fuse your neck or to stabilize you, they had to put 4 screws in my head with a halo. It's like a metal crown with poles, goes down to the waist, uncomfortable. Obviously, it screws in your skull. But to stabilize my neck. And then I had tubes. I think they were in my nose, mouth, everything. Now, my parents are divorced, both remarried, and my dad and my stepmom lived in Indiana, and my mom and my stepdad lived in Clio. They got the phone call, so imagine what that's like for 45 minutes racing to know if your child is still alive, or what's the worst. I have not experienced that, but I can only put myself in her shoes. And my dad ended up coming from Fort Wayne, Indiana. When I came in, when I was awake at the local hospital, they were telling me what happened. I already knew what happened, but it's just like hearing in the doctor saying that, like, why am I not moving? They're saying you're not able to walk. I think they say you're never walking in, but I don't listen to that stuff. You never know. Even though it's been 17 years, it still can happen. It was crushing. It was definitely a devastating blow. And they didn't even know, about the survival of me too. I wasn't even stabilized yet. There was a lot of chaos. I knew a lot of friends that had nicknames, and they were trying to see me, and I was under an alias at the hospital. And so I didn't know who, Brian was. I only knew him by, JJ or something. It was a lot of emotion happening, up and down. Who did the shooting? Why was the shooting happening? Where were the police? Where was the investigation? And at the same time, I was unable to talk. I communicated with eyelids when the detective came in. After 4 days later, when he asked me the questions, I communicated with my eyes, like once for yes and twice for no. Then eventually I learned how to tongue click. And so it was the same way from blinking to tongue clicks. Now I could move my mouth eventually, but there was no audio that came out because I was on a ventilator. About within a week later, they cut your throat, put a trachea in, and then that's your life support. That's the machine that's allowing you to breathe, keeping you alive. And staying at the local hospital, just figuring things out. There's no answers. There's no book. And with me being on the vent, trying to get to a rehab facility is the next process. My parents went and looked for places. A lot of the places at that time, this is 97, they didn't take a lot of vet patients. Luckily, Colorado knew about my story, and before you know it, I didn't want to leave Michigan at all. I was like totally against it, but we went out to Colorado, to Eaglewood, Colorado, to Craig Hospital. They specialized getting people off the vet. Actually, it was the best thing that I ever went to. So now we transitioned from the local hospital over in rehab. I gotta do a weight shift. So we get to rehab, and then it's like boot camp there. You go to physical therapy and occupational therapy, and the respiratory therapist comes in and they turn the ventilator off for 30 seconds, and you're looking at it like, oh, how do I breathe? How do I breathe again? And they give you a pulsometer where you can see your oxygen levels. So it's kind of like biofeedback. So eventually you go from 30 seconds to a minute, and every 30 seconds. And they come in 3 times a day, 5 days a week, until you're off the ventilator. That's the hope. I was there until October this year, October 29th until March 20th. While in there, I spent all the holidays in there, and people were out doing everything, and it felt like isolation, like I was somewhere outside of this world, because the world kept spinning without me. And it was, I got to hear about everything that was going on. There was a person that came in, it was a chaplain or a priest or something that comes and prays for people there. And he came in, didn't know me, and he asked me, do you forgive who or who did this to you? I said yes, and meant it. And it was like the weight being lifted off, and progress went from there, before you know it, the halo was coming off. I was getting better and stronger at the ventilator. And because the wheelchair that I was using did not get ordered properly, I actually got off the vent about a week or two right before I was supposed to go home, which I came home March 20th, and it wasn't planned that way. So September 20th to March 20th, I spent from local to rehab, which is also the day after is my dad's birthday. And it's the first day of spring, so it's, I time things different. Transitioning to my mom's house, because instead of going to a nursing home, I had a place to go. My stepdad built a ramp right in the doorways, which I'm telling you, I've been blessed ever since it happened. And then relearning everything, how to, go back to college, what am I going to do for a job or be sufficient, and, just coming back into society. It was just a lot to learn, from being a 20-year-old person to just breaking down into nothing with your spirit. That's why every obstacle that I've faced now, I'm humble about, because I've already been down. And if I haven't figured them out, I say how. I figure out how to get over these obstacles. I went from my mom's and transitioned into an apartment for like 10 years while I was going to college. And at the same time, learning business, going back to school, business, and hanging out with entrepreneurs and business owners, volunteering anywhere from the Cancer Society to starting a Skateland event with Andy Jr., Suski, and we started raising donations for coats for kids, Toys for Tots, and Food Bank of Eastern Michigan. We've been doing that for 8 years. Actually, when I met Andy Jr., we met at a volunteer event, and that really helped me grow too, because meeting Andy Jr., being around his dad, he's a business person. I didn't sit there and act like I knew everything. I listened to him. I watched it. It was almost like an apprentice. I was just, he taught me a lot about business. At the same time, when I came to the time to be able to raise money for a wheelchair van, he was one of the board members, the chair, the co-chair. And I raised enough money. I raised $32,000 to buy that van. That's a lot of money for a fundraiser. So, is there any more talents that I've left out? Like, maybe. I've been at the Rotaries and the Chambers, and I've spoke all over and told my story, and and in schools, wherever. If I'm just at like the Best Buy, people, the first thing they ask is how I move my chair. For if there's 10 or 15 people surrounding me asking me all these questions, and asking me if I feel comfortable with asking questions after they've already asked 10 or 10. But the reason why the inspired came from, because that was the one word. Even when I was in rehab, is what they always said. It always carried it. And when I opened up my shop in November of 2011, after a lot of business planning and strategizing, and doing a lot of other businesses that did not succeed, and starting over, I do the graphic design and apparel now. And with the apparel, I was allowed to make my own inspired stuff. And so I started wearing this. And I started seeing the impact when I would go into the schools, the kids. And the kids were fulfilled with, they wanted to do something or do their best. And so I was like, wow, we should really market this instead of just holding it to ourselves. And now a lot of people have bought a lot of inspired stuff, from hats to bracelets to shirts. And even one of the mentors I met was David John, the owner of Food, who was on Shark Tank. Now, I got to meet him, and we stayed in touch, and we've been in touch the whole time. I went to his academy, and I learned a lot of entrepreneurship, a lot of business stuff. At the same time, he also wears the inspired stuff. And he's posted photos, and he has written on Facebook or Twitter about what he feels, what he thinks about me, which is pretty sweet. But there's a lot of, that's where a lot of the inspired stuff comes from. I'm blessed today because I have, over at my table, I got my mom, my dad, my stepdad, and my stepmom. Now they're like I said, they were divorced, but they both remarried. My mom, she worked hard. Well, I'm talking hard, and She just didn't go to the job, she gave it the extra mile of the job. And that's some inspiration if you think about it. And a lot of people, they go to work and they just work and they punch out and they go home. A lot of people work like they own ownership of that business. Like they work like they own the company, even if they don't, but they sure do work like it. The same as my dad. My dad did the same thing, 45 years in the Myers. On Sundays when it was my weekend, we'd be at Myers and we'd be doing implants. He worked for that company like he owned it. That was the extra, inspiration to really, of work. And the same thing, both of them, they both married people that go the extra mile. My stepdad, he was a teacher, he's a retired teacher. He didn't just teach and go home and then that was it and be comfortable. He stayed there, he left, he came back, he announced the football games, he went to every basketball game, and then he also started the track team and went to all the dances. He cared. He went the extra mile. My stepmom, she worked at Myers too, but now she does private care. We were just there Christmas Day and she left for a few hours just to take care of somebody. So she's always putting everything and all the effort into what they do. So I have a real strong support circle to show me that don't just do something just to do it. Do it because you love it, do it because you have passion and care about it. And go the extra length. Just because you got to point B, go to point C, D, and E or something. Always give it your all and give it your best. And that's kind of like what the whole Inspire stuff is about. And, if there's anything today that can inspire you, with this for networking, go out and do it. I mean, if you heard someone say that they are doing gardening, if that inspires you to do it, then do it. Don't talk yourself out of it. What are the real cool things that just has happened today, actually? I know when I tell you, but I was looking at Inspired, I was just kind of thinking of an acronym, and I was like, how did I do this? Like, no, it wasn't just because of this event, but maybe it was. Let's feel special. But I thought of it like getting in a vehicle, like driving a car. And so I was like, so the I is like, you have to get in, so it's got to start within. The inspiration starts within. And the end is like one of the things I always say, never say can't, always say how. A lot of times when you hear them, when you see somebody do something, you go, oh, I want to do that, but then you start talking yourself out of it. And when you do that, you say can't, it automatically stops it. If you say how is a building block. It builds when you sleep, it builds when you eat, it just builds and builds. It might not happen today, tomorrow, 5 years, or 10 years, but eventually that how will happen as long as you keep towards it. And then you have the S. Well, you have to start the car. And then so I was like, wow, you got to start the car, the S. And I was like, the P, well, what do? You got to put it in gear. So once you have this inspiration, then you got to put some action to it. You got to put it in gear. What was it? N-I-S-P. I know. And the I, you have to imagine. Imagine that you already accomplishing what you're going towards. And then the R was, I'm trying to think what the R was. It was something. So what? Reach. Reach was good. Reach was good. Reach was good. It wasn't reach, but I'll go with reach. I just thought about this today, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. So you're in the vehicle, now you're driving, now you're putting in gear. So, you gotta, where are you going? And then once you get to your destination, what do you do? Lastly, you gotta go the extra mile. So I was like, that is pretty sweet. So I just shared that with you guys for the very first time. So you can see it on Facebook once I put it on. So what's weird? I always end up going places that I never plug my own stuff. Everybody else's. I have shirts at the table. I have bracelets, shirts, and hats. And then I also have a picture with Damon and I. We've kept the relationship very strong. I learned a lot from him. And you see the box that that we show on the box. It's really cool. Before I even started the business in November, this is the box. I was thinking, wow, you know, this, like, how could you have a box and have like sponsors on it and put the shirt in? So the shirt is inside the box. So when you take it out of the box, that also acts as a hanger. Well, if you think about this, if you're doing a fundraiser, you get sponsors, you figure out what the cost of the box is, the cost of the shirt, the labor, everything. So what's the total cost? You put your sponsor, you get a sponsor to sponsor the boxes, and then you can put them on there, so then when you, a person that's doing a fundraiser, they sell these shirts in the box, it's 100% proceeds. And that was my idea, and I worked with Lando Packaging to construct it. And it's also a hanger. And you can put like jewelry and accessories, watch. I mean, you can actually travel with this. So, I think that was all I had.
His own idea.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate that.
You told me to keep it brief, so.
So please support Eric and the Inspired. His table's over here. He's got lots of product there. Please support that before you guys leave. Thanks, Eric. Wow. At this point in time, I'm going to invite our current chairperson, Mr. Andy Suski, to the podium.
Boy, that's nice to have a party there. I really love that's nice. I appreciate that. You know, inspired. You know, when you take a guy like Eric, and, you know, we all have problems, we all have situations, we all have aches and pains, and you sit there and you look at Eric, and he's so modest. He absolutely never asks for sympathy about any of his situation. He's absolutely courageous, and he's one of the things that he's done that he doesn't care to talk about, but you know, you can't think of everything. But this young man has done more for handicapped people in the state of Michigan than any other human being in the history of Michigan. So how about that? Talk about, you know, impressing you. When you run into so many people, they want to tell you about why they cannot be successful. They want to tell you about their ADD, their this, their that. And I'm not taking away from these folks, but you know what? This is a young man that he has taken every single obstacle, and what he's done is he's made it into an opportunity. And he hasn't done it with, hey, what are you going to give to me? He hasn't put a sign on his chest and say, listen, you know, give to me. What he's done is he's gone out and he's created businesses and he's put things together to earn money just like every single person in this room. It's just absolutely phenomenal. So I'm so impressed and to get an honorable mention from him. With the truth be known, who's taught somebody? He's taught me. I haven't taught him anything. All I did is give him some basics. He's taught me about life, and that's the most important thing. I'd like to go back in time, just real quick, and then we'll go to the awards. Back in 1981, when we had our first banquet that I was at, that I was invited to in Birch, it was at Furlow's Restaurant. And Shorty Fent, Chuck Fent, Bill Furlow, Harold Johnson, Abe Judd, and I'm going to, Zulik, Emil Zulik. I mean, you know, and I'm sure that there's a lot of other people. And then, of course, Ozzy, the original, my original fire chief, which originally he was a service manager at the dealership, and then he retired, and then he became the fire chief, and he was that until he perished, and he was at the last fire that he was involved in. And the wonderful things about Birch Run. But I remember the first Christmas party, and it was not the Chamber, it wasn't JC's, it wasn't the Rotary, it was the Birch Run Business, unfortunately, Men's Association, you know, it's a men's association. But we had this party, and it was at Furloughs, and we ate, and the thing that was absolutely wonderful is we all broke on the tables of four so we could play euchre. So, just wonderful memories as far as and where Birch Run has gone. From a 2-lane highway, the Paulberg farm was across the street. Mr. Paulberg used to spread the manure, and when the wind was coming from the north, it was a little tight. He was our neighbor. He was a good neighbor, and he's still with us today, and it's just absolutely fantastic. But you just go down the line as far as all the wonderful things that have happened in Birch Run and Bridgeport. Actually, when I first came into town, Bridgeport was the big city and Birch Run was the little truck stop. And so now with us joining together, our energies and our efforts, there's absolutely no way to stop us. There's absolutely to have us continue to be successful and create jobs in Birch Run so that our children do not have to drive north and south, that they can stay right there in Birch Run and they can have jobs. And the wonderful people that are operating all of our different agencies, the police, the fire, the villages, the townships, everything is just moving in absolutely the right direction, and it's because of the people in this room. It all happens because of the people in this room. So with that, we're going to give some awards right now. We're going to try to make this thing move right along, and I'm just so proud to be a part of it. Thank you. All right, we're going to start out with the past president. Kurt, would you please come up? I want to tell you, this guy here, he has been an absolute trooper throughout this entire 12 months, and I always look up to him.
All right, next we're going to invite to the podium Mr. Mike Basler to give out the award to the Birch Run Student of the Year and Educator of the Year. Mike.
Thank you, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of the schools for all the support, businesses, the community, the many parents in the room, there's many teachers here that the support you give our students and our schools. I won't take a long time, but I want to make sure you know we appreciate everything you do. It takes a village, takes a community to raise these children, and we take those ideas and hopefully foster those in the schools to help our kids. And thank you so much for what you do. And a couple of those to recognize tonight. If I could start with the Student of the Year, and I asked for a little help from a couple of people that are close with him. So I'm going to read a few things from a couple of his coaches and a few other people as well. Coach Cork, this young man plays baseball. Coach Cork says, Joe is one of the best baseball players I've ever coached. Not only is he a good baseball player, though, he's a good person. I wish my whole team was made of Joe Copians. There would be nothing we couldn't achieve. Coach Gillum, our football coach, says, Joe is a driven young man. He sets goals and seeks solutions to everything. His work ethic is terrific. Joe has an ability to get the most of himself while also encouraging others to do the same. He will not stop short of change in himself or others while pursuing his goals. He is a true leader. He is a dedicated person, and he demands the most of himself and helps others to achieve their dreams as well. Mr. Livingston, Joe has also made it in a couple other areas, but he's a tech student. He works for our tech department during the day as well as being a student and an athlete as well. Joe is a great employee in the technology department. Joe was asked to step into a role mid-school year and picked up the skills in the technology department very quickly. When I assign Joe a task, I didn't have to worry about whether it's going to get done. I know it's going to get done and finished correctly. When everything else Joe is involved in, I'm impressed at what he's able to get done with a job in the tech department. Also, his counselor. Joe is part of our new early college program here at Birch Run. A very unique program. In fact, he's one of the first students, the first cohort of the program. Mr. Dooley says he's an excellent representative of Birch Run High School academically, athletically, and being a positive role model for other students. As a pioneering student in the first ever early college program, Joe has excelled in early college by earning 23 college credits already and honorable status for both high school and college. He is on track to obtain his associate's degree and high school diploma when he graduates, thus putting him a full year of college credit ahead of many of his peers. It is my honor to award the Student of the Year to Joe Cobian. While he's getting his photo up, one thing I want to say too is that I have a son myself, and I hope that he grows up someday and exhibits the same characters, qualities, and characteristics that Joe has, except for one. My wife was with me here tonight. Well, I bought my son. I'm a Michigan fan. And my son's 6, and my wife bought a Michigan State sweatshirt for him. He likes Michigan State. However, Joe is an Ohio State fan, so I'm not sure. I had to get that in there. Congratulations, Joe. Again, now we move on to the Educator of the Year. With us tonight is Wendy Holt, if I may read a few things about her. Wendy is one of the most selfless, dedicated teachers. She always puts students first and makes extra time for them whenever they need it. Before school, after school, and even during breaks. And I know that's said a lot, like, they can come in after, they can come in before, but literally, if you know Miss Holt, she is there nonstop. She will make time whenever, and I mean whenever, to come in and help you for the students or just to meet with staff or parents. She is super organized, and I can attest to that. I need to maybe pick up on a few of those traits sometimes. She's prepared for every lesson and is so professional with students, staff, and parents. Outside the classroom, Wendy is beyond dependable. She helps out in an unbelievable amount of after-school activities. If you know Wendy, that's very true. Along with forensics, drama, and track, she puts in countless hours. Wendy can be found at pretty much any event happening at Birch Run High School. From honors nights to concerts, she is there, and usually running the lighting or sound, or just about everything. The amount of hours Wendy dedicates to Birch Run schools and her students are countless. And throughout all of this, she stays positive and always has a smile on her face. Her students, friends, and Birch Run High School are blessed to have her in their lives. Wendy is the type of person that would do anything for a coworker or student or parent or principal. She was made for teaching. She puts forth so much hard work every day to ensure her students get the education they need and deserve. Wendy also strives continually to improve her abilities. She doesn't just coast. She doesn't get complacent. She's always looking for the next best way to do things. She is and always will be a great educator. Wendy has been an amazing role model for many of our young educators and for principals that are new, and she helps along the way, serving as their mentor and mine at times, whether she was assigned to or not. She drops everything and helps anyone in need at any time. The students respect her, and her colleagues do as well. Her dedication to her profession is truly remarkable. She comes in early and stays late. All the behind-the-scenes work that she doesn't get credit for, we do recognize, and your colleagues and students do, Wendy. Being an excellent person and role model in the school is an important one, but how she leads her life outside of school is just as important. She creates a connection with students and community members that many struggle with. I am proud to work alongside Wendy. Congratulations, Wendy. You truly deserve it as Educator of the Year.
Next, I'd like to bring to the podium from Bridgeport Spalding School District, John McCollum.
Thank you. It certainly is my honor and privilege to be here, and I'm glad I just didn't have to follow Eric. what an inspiration, unbelievable story. And I want to talk about two unbelievable people that I know and represent our school district in just a tremendous way. And again, as I talked about at the board meeting on Monday, how do you pick an educator and a student of the year? It's an impossible task. When you have hundreds of good students, you have just hundreds of fine educators throughout this community. And they're always about team. It's always about others before them. So as I talk about two wonderful young ladies here tonight, it's not just about them, it's what they represent. They represent a bigger cause, that bigger idea about others. And so certainly it is my privilege to talk about two wonderful young ladies. The first person I'd like to talk about is named Emily Ann Zisler. Emily is a senior. She epitomizes class throughout our school. All right, Emily cares about others, certainly more than herself. She's been doing just a wonderful job for really the last 4 years here, since 9th grade, of really taking time out and caring about others. Emily is not only in the top 5 in her class, but she's involved in many things. You know, volleyball, softball, student council, NHS. She goes the extra mile. And because of that, there's no doubt that she will be successful in the future as well. So it's certainly my honor and privilege to honor and give an award to Emily Zisler. Now, I said two young ladies. The next lady certainly is young, and again, as we look at the school system and we look at where things are going, a lot of times, you know, we as educators are beat up. But I'm telling you, this next teacher, Mrs. Eisenhower, she stands tough. She puts in the extra hours. She goes through and deals with tough kids. She wants the tough assignments. And it's certainly an honor and privilege to work with somebody like that who comes in, you know, at 7 o'clock and leaves at 6 at night. And then not only that's just working with kids, not only putting in the extra time lesson planning and going to school herself and doing all those extra things, that mental toughness that she is that role model for. You know, 30 years from now, we're certainly going to be honoring her excellence in education as well as you go back and she's at all the games. She does all the little things that certainly it takes to be successful. So I would certainly love to give a round of applause to Szukhent Eisenhower.
At this time, we'd like to honor the Birch Firefighter of the Year. I'd like to call the podium Chief Motzke.
I would like to take this time and thank you, Saber. Thank you for your support during the year. We have a great group of firefighters in Birch. They make my job easy. 2 o'clock in the morning when it's negative 5 degrees out, the pager goes off. They're right there to respond to whatever call we have. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they're sitting down eating dinner with their families. Pager goes off. They get up, they respond. They sacrifice a lot for the communities. I'd like to recognize our firefighters that are here tonight. Jim Totten, Chief 2. Will you stand, please? John Berdino, Chief 3. Lieutenant Thomas. Firefighter Brad Thomas. Firefighter Brady Totten, if you would stand. Along with Chief Nelson from Bridgeport and his Firefighter of the Year. Will you stand, please? Along with Donaldson team and all the firefighters that are here tonight, would you stand? Please give these guys whenever that pager goes off, there's a need in the community, they are there to respond, and I want to thank you for that. At this time, firefighter of the year, he came to us in 2009. He came from a bigger department down south, where they responded a lot more calls than what we have. Whenever, as a chief, you get somebody that has the training, the knowledge, and the community department, you're happy for that because they're already got the training. You don't have to put any money into them, and they're here to serve the community. So it's always good as a fire chief to get somebody with their qualifications. In 2010, this person got promoted to lieutenant on the department. At that time, he took over fire prevention. This past year, he talked to over 700 kids in the schools, along with daycare, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts that come to the hall. And he's also taken over our training program for our firefighters and doing an excellent job. I'd like to recognize Lieutenant Tom Mitchell for Firefighter of the Year.
Chief. We found a bracelet, in case anybody's looking for a bracelet. I know where it's at. How are you doing? At this time, I'd like to honor the Bridgeport Firefighter of the Year. And I'm going to ask Chief Nelson to come to the podium, please.
Good evening, and thank you once again for taking time to honor all these individuals. And Chief Motzke's correct. So I often tell our township manager, Bruce Licht, how honored and blessed I am to be able to lead this group of people. It truly is amazing. Middle of winter, 5 degrees outside, and ice dripping off their helmets, and yet they still just keep going. You can't stop these people. And it amazes me to watch them work and watch them leave their homes, leave their jobs, and come and do what they do. I do this for a living now, but they volunteer. They don't have to do this for us. And so it truly does, I tell her often, it just amazes me to watch them work. And so I'm honored this evening to recognize one of our firefighters, Jerry Childs. Jerry's only been with our department for 2 years. His grandfather served for many years, up until about 1989. But although he's only been on the department for about 2 years, I forget that all the time, and I think he's been around a decade or so. His maturity, the experience he's gained already, his leadership, just being on the department for 2 years, they've already nicknamed him Lieutenant Childs. And he just demonstrates leadership constantly. And the smile that you see is what you always see. It doesn't matter time of day, night, cold, hot, it doesn't matter. Jerry's there, and he's always smiling, and always contributing. And so when I went through the process of selecting somebody this year, his name just kept moving to the top of the list. He has a career that he manages and a very active family, and he still manages to make the contribution, or at least I think he does okay. I haven't gotten any threatening phone calls from his wife yet. So. But anyway, congratulations, Jerry. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we're going to honor the Tamath Township Firefighter of the Year. And at this point in time, I'd like to bring Chief Pounds up to the podium.
Well, I didn't know I had to give a speech tonight, so it's gonna be darn short. Firefighter of the Year for our department. Every year we vote on a person that we think has done an outstanding job. Cody's been with us for, what, 4 years? Something like that? I don't know. He's gone through the academy and he helps some of the new guys, helps them train, stuff like that. He's been a good man on the department. Wish I had some more like him. So, like everybody else said before, you know, you get up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, it's doggone cold outside, or it's 95 degrees in the shade. It don't matter. You go anyway. So. All right, with that, we'll have Cody Fritzler. And I want to thank all the firefighters in the room and all firefighters in both Bridgeport, Birch, Damon, firefighters all over. Thanks.
At this time, I'd like to bring Mary Ann Nelson up to give the award for the Birch Village Police Officer of the Year.
Vertically challenged. All right. The 2004 Village Bertrand Police Officer of the Year award is presented to a village police officer who exemplifies, protect, and serve through their outstanding job performance, contributions to the Bertrand Police Department, the Bertrand community, and Saginaw County. This year's award recipient was chosen by the Chief of Police Al Swearden. This year's award winner has spent many off-duty hours securing thousands of dollars worth of surplus military equipment and supplies for the village, including vehicles and computers. He's worked many hours getting equipment in working condition and looking professional. Though he only works a few hours a month, he regularly stops at the office to see if he can help with anything. He attended several training schools on his own time and has recently completed the motor carrier training. He is also a volunteer on the Saginaw Community Dive Team with the Sheriff's Aviation Unit. He takes pride in his work and is well liked and respected by his fellow officers. He never hesitates to volunteer his knowledge, his experience, or his time. On behalf of the Village of Bertrand, we would like to present Police Officer of the Year Award to Manuel Torino. Manny was unable to attend tonight due to family commitments, and he will get his award in the very near future.
As long as you have the podium, would you like to move on to the Employee of the Year?
The 2014 Employee of the Year for the Village of Bertrand, which we have named the Carol Award and Memorial Employee of the Year Award, is presented to a village employee who has shown outstanding job performance, has great rapport with co-workers and service to the public, has made positive contributions to their department and to the village. As in previous years, this year's recipient was chosen from among nominations submitted by the fellow village employees. This year's award winner is a longtime village employee with 20 years of service in the Building and Zoning Department. He communicates well with other employees, which helps him to be more efficient in their job, sometimes carrying out duties that that are not easy and makes him a little unpopular. But he continues to do his job well and work effectively with a wide variety of people. He is a team player and he's willing to help others when necessary. This is important and much appreciated by the other office employees, as the village does not have a large staff. On behalf of the Village of Birch Run, it is my pleasure to present the 2014 Carol Warden Memorial Village Employee of the Year Award to Mr. Mike Setzer. It seems like I'm getting an awful lot of papers tonight. I don't know. The Village Partnership Award is presented to a local business that has made a notable contribution to the Birch Run Business District. This award recognizes their cooperation with the village to help improve the social and economic welfare of our community. As in the past, the award recipient was chosen from nominations received by the Birch Run Village Council. This year's Partnership Award recipient is a long-established business in the Birch Run community located in Restaurant Row on the west side of the I-75 interchange. In the course of business operation, this year's award recipient has formed cooperative relationships with all levels of the village staff and has created employment opportunities for many local residents. They have continually invested in and made improvements to their establishment, which in turn contributes to the ongoing economic stability of the business community and improve the aesthetics of the village. This year's Partnership Award recipient is a member of the Birch Run Chamber of Commerce and supports many charitable organizations and programs in the community through donations, funds, goods, and services. On behalf of the Village of Birch Run, it is my pleasure to present the 2014 Village Partnership Award to McDonald's of Birch Run.
All right, moving right along, Birch Run Township Employee of the Year. Presenting is going to be Township Supervisor Ray Letterman.
Before I do our Employee of the Year, we're giving all these praise to the fire departments and stuff. Very recently, we had Bridgeport, Birch Run, Clio tied up on the expressway, and Tama ran a call in Birch Run Township. Mutual aid is very important, and all your town boards, make sure you recognize the fire departments and mutual aid agreements. Birch Run Township Employee of the Year has been with the township for approximately 10 years. Become the supervisor of DPW. I've added a few jobs to his plate, and little does he know I have a few more to add to his. Brad Thomas.
Bridgeport Township Employee of the Year, and doing the honors is Rose Lake.
Thank you, Ren. Our supervisor, Augie Townsend, do you want to come up? Last year when we presented to our employee, we enjoyed way more. So you're more than welcome if you want to come on. I might even let him talk. Okay, Employee of the Year Award for Bridgeport Charter Township. I'm trying to track him down, because I know he was at a table over there. There he is. All right, he told me tonight I can talk good or bad, and I've got the floor. So honestly, though, I couldn't think of anything bad to talk about Steve. Steve Novus is our Employee of the Year for Bridgeport Township. He served on our DDA board for about 8 years, chair for about 4. Then he accepted the position as our DDA coordinator, and that's been for the last year and a half. And when he took on that position, he said he's going to make things happen in Bridgeport because he loves Bridgeport. And he truly does. He's cleaned up a lot of properties in Bridgeport. Eyesore, we have what we call the old Milliken House next to the Rite Aid in Bridgeport. So part of his goal is to obtain that property and demolish the home and clean it up, and he did. He's done that with other things, the Carpenter Plaza. He's worked on that, and he's gained that for us, and we have some future development, hopefully, as we go along. I shouldn't say hopefully, we're going to develop that in some time. He's assisted with some of the subway stuff, the Dollar, General, the Marion Comfort Care, some of the properties over by the Old Gable Garden. So just to list a few things, flowers with the DDA, the Christmas lights. He's worked with our Parks and Rec Director, Bill Wheeler, with the Canoe Kayak Lounge that we're bringing into Bridgeport, landscaping at the bridge. I could go on and name a whole bunch, but I'm going to pass that because I told Steve I wasn't going to talk much about him. So, when Steve said he was going to make things happen in Bridgeport, he truly is. There's a lot of stuff happening, and it's good, positive stuff. Along with that, just as the stuff that he contributes to the community, some of the employees, I should say the employees that nominated him, had some things to say. He's loved by all of our staff. When he walks into our office, they say he has a contagious attitude, and he brightens up the whole room when he walks in. And when he's not there, people miss him. He's always happy. He always makes his coworkers laugh. He's positive. He's a perfect example of being that glass that's always full. He's kind, and he would do anything for anybody. A couple years ago for our Christmas luncheon, the employees would always do a Christmas potluck. And 2 years ago when Steve became our DDA coordinator, he said the employees are going to get together and make their own dishes. He's going to take care of it. And he's done that through his catering business. So the employees speak highly of that. The love for his family. I did not meet his son yet tonight, but I believe he's over there. And his daughter, even his ex, he speaks very highly of. His mom, I was hoping to meet her tonight because I hear she's very, very classy.
Keep her out of here.
One of the things about Steve that everybody in our office talks about is he can have something happen in his life, and just most recently, he's in a condo and he has a lady that lives above him, and for a few days her water line had busted on the refrigerator, and when that busted, she kind of walked in it for a few days but didn't really know. She's elderly, and the water eventually came down into his place. And he comes in and he doesn't complain, shares a story with me and says how blessed he is because there's so many other people in the world that are so far worse off. He's always so positive. Talking about inspiration with Eric Thomas over here speaking, Steve is, I'm going to say, mine along with all the co-workers and our board and everybody in our office. He is our inspiration. He can brighten up the room, as I said, and he gives it his all. And he goes that extra mile that Eric talked about. So with all of that, Steve, come on up. With all of that, I'm honored to present you the award for our Employee of the Year. Steve, go ahead.
I'm going to give an acceptance speech. You can't I'm very honored to accept this award, but more importantly, in my acceptance of this award actually belongs to all the employees of Bridgeport Township. I go in every day, and a lot of them may be having problems. You can see sometimes change that is happening, that they may not like the change or whatever. And I think of myself and some of the challenges that I have been through in my life. I've turned a lot of those obstacles into very positive energy. And when I go into the office, as Rose has said, and Eric, my God, the things that you have been through are this much that I have been through. But I like to go into the office, I'm only there a couple days a week, to show that positive energy, to bring those employees together to actually try and make an impact. So this award is really not about me, it is about a team effort. And Rose and Augie have an excellent staff there, and it's not a job for me as the DDA coordinator. I go there because I love it, it's in my heart, and with this marriage of Birch Run and Bridgeport, as Andy has said, ladies and gentlemen, just hold on to your seats, because you've only seen a little bit. In the next few years, you're going to see a lot happen with Bridgeport and Birch Run. And again, I am honored to accept this, but all of my colleagues at the township, this is for them too. So thank you very much.
I asked Augie if he wanted to speak. He asked if I'd let him, so I got a lot of talk.
You can understand now, I don't get much of a chance to talk when I meet with Rose. But, the only thing I wanted to say is after listening to this young man tonight, as a supervisor, you have bad days, you have very frustrating days, and I'm sure all of us here, and in whatever work we do, have a bad day. After listening to him today, I don't think I'll ever have another bad day.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to bring to the podium Elma Nedrow from the Birch Run United Methodist Church to present their Volunteer of the Year.
Okay, I'm privileged to be here for the Birch Run United Methodist Church. On behalf of the church, we would like to honor our Volunteer of the Year because he's always there, always doing, always supporting, not only at the church, but with his family and community, all of the community he works with and helps out with. And anything you need, he's always there. Chad, congratulations.
I'd like to ask Bill Daniels to join up here to give out the award to the Volunteer of the Year for the Birch Run Moose Lodge.
We don't have a script. Okay, we're honoring tonight volunteer volunteers from our Moose Lodge, Carl and Linda Eastman. They're fairly new members out there, but they've been volunteering at Hope House. I don't know if anybody knows anything about that here. It's Hope House in Detroit, take care of kids. They volunteer on our highway cleanup. They volunteer to help bartend. They bartend and they volunteer to cook. They're there all the time. Both of them have jobs. That's who we'd like to honor tonight. Carl and Linda, would please come up. Carl is also a member of the Birch Moose Lodge Board of Officers, and Linda is a member of the Women of the Moose Board of Officers. Carl was chosen as our Moose of the Year this year also.
Just like to say the Hope House that they volunteered to do is in Detroit. It's a home where this family goes and buys homes that are broken down. They redo them and fix them so that people that are less fortunate have a place to come and stay and, you know, feed them, clothe them, help them with that. And Carl and Linda have been a big inspiration in it.
Eric, if you don't mind, I'm going to steal that, never say can't, always say how can. Love that.
Now we'd like to bring to the podium Barry Borsnick from the Birch Knights of Columbus, honor their Volunteer of the Year.
Good evening. As Mike said, I'm Barry Borsnick. I'm the navigator of Bishop Francis F. Ray Assembly of the Knights of Columbus in Birch Run. And tonight I also represent Father Norman Van Poppel, Council of Birch Run. We're two separate organizations, but both consist of Knights from Birch Run, Bridgeport, and Frankenmuth and the surrounding areas. I would first like to say thanks to Mike for inviting us here tonight, and all of you. Mike's been a great advocate for promoting our communities, and he's probably the one guy that isn't getting recognized tonight that should. And thank him for encouraging us to get involved. He's a brother knight. The Knights of Columbus is a Catholic family fraternal organization dedicated to the principles of charity, unity, fraternity, and patriotism. Members must be Catholic men of 18 years of age or older who strive to live in accord with our church and uphold the values of our order. Today we are pleased to recognize one of our members who exemplifies the first principle of our order, charity. His selfless dedication to the Knights of Columbus and to our community is truly worthy of recognition and appreciation. Now, we tried to surprise him tonight, but he spoiled the surprise because he wouldn't come until I told him he had to come to receive the award. So Ken moves a little slow, but he gets a lot of stuff done. So I'm asking him to please stand now as I tell you a little bit about him. And please welcome my brother knight, our honoree, Sir Knight Ken Bezemek. But first, let me ask, how many of you have ever been to a Knights of Columbus fish fry in Birch Run? All right, thank you. Thank you. Well, this is the guy that made it happen. Ken has been a member of Knights of Columbus, I think, for 24 years. But as a member, he saw a need, and he stepped forward to lead an effort that started out as a hopeful experiment and turned into an important fundraising cornerstone to our charitable activity. Ken Besmick has been the chairman of our fish fry for 20 years. He keeps meticulous records, so I was able to go back and tabulate a few things to give you some totals over the last 20 years. We have served at our council hall over 102,000 fish and shrimp dinners. This includes approximately 56 tons of pollock, cod, shrimp, and even a few chicken dinners. That's kind of an inside joke, if they understand. Each year we provide free dinners to veterans in November. We also provide free dinners for blood donors a couple times each year when we host blood drives at our hall. Additional meals are provided as donations to other charitable events around the area. And during our dinners, we also do fundraising at times for different efforts for veterans, for our church altar society, for scout troops, and different programs, including some that help the mentally impaired. Occasionally, we even conduct an entire fish fry as a fundraiser to benefit, with the proceeds going to help a local family, typically with a serious medical issue. We have a benefit fish fry coming up soon on February 13th for Hannah Kettler, who's a resident of Birch, and I hope you all come out and join us to help support her and her family. Over 20 years, our fries under Ken's leadership has generated an amazing $315,000 in profit. This is an important source of revenue for us as Knights, which allows us really to support the cost of maintaining our rental hall for many groups and individuals who use it for special events every year. It frees us up to focus on our charitable efforts that can provide assistance to people in need. As a result, our members are able to donate hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars every year to programs and individuals in our local community and throughout the Saginaw Diocese and the surrounding areas. Furthermore, our rental hall is truly an asset to the community, serving hosts to weddings, meetings, fundraisers, funerals, family parties, youth activities, and even serving as a polling place during our elections. Ken, your leadership has helped the Knights of Columbus continue to serve countless people and to serve a lot of fish dinners. On behalf of the 195 members of our council and our assembly, it's my pleasure to award you the Birch Area Knights of Columbus Volunteer of the Year. And thank you, Ken, for your service.
At this time, I'd like to bring to the podium President of the Birch Rotary Club, Mr. Kurt Kondorski, for the award of the Rotarian of the Year.
For those of you unfamiliar with Rotary, we're a service organization. We put service above self, and we're involved with communities, with our Rotary district, as well as international projects. This year, we had 4 strong nominees for Rotarian of the Year, and I'd like to recognize all 4 of them. Unfortunately, I have only one plaque to give out. One nomination was for Paul Moore for his service as a assistant governor, as well as working with district grant writing and along with all his activities with the 4th of July parade. We had Mary Ann Nelson, who was named for all of her efforts that she did with our water and sanitation project through the Republic. We were the host club, and we coordinated with multiple clubs here in our district, as well as clubs over in the Dominican and so forth. Our next nomination was Janet Schultz for her work and coordinating the entertainment tent for the best Summer Blast Festival that we have here in Birch. And our other nomination is for Louis Schultz. Louis Schultz is a phenomenal person. He dedicates himself, he lives service above self, and he's great with fundraising. He's coordinated with Duperon in order to get funding for the water and sanitation projects, and he also got us involved with the Auto Fest over in Frankenmuth as well. And Rotarian of the Year for 2014, I kept it a secret from everybody, is Louis Schultz.
I'd like to bring to the podium is Jeanette Morsch from the Flushing Memorial Library to honor their Volunteer of the Year.
At the library, we have so many people who volunteer their time and efforts with us with regards to our summer reading, our adult reading, and the different things that we have going on at the library. But in the past couple of years, we have established a Friends group, and the person who is receiving this award tonight has been instrumental in that Friends group with regards to getting our 501(c) paperwork done and accepted on the first try, which, if you've ever done that, that's quite a task. She also, over the past couple of years, has made some beautiful quilts that we have raffled off to help raise money at the library. So with that being said, our Volunteer of the Year for the Fleschner Memorial Library is Sandy Barrow.
At this time, I'd like to special thanks to our volunteers that helped make this possible tonight. I'm not sure if they're all here or not, but I just want to make note that when you were checking in, Sharika Martin was assisting you, Shannon Weidman, Blake Stafford, Olivia Konzorski, Leslie Howe, and our photographer, Wendy Smith. So a round of applause. At this time, I'd like to announce Birch Run Business of the Year. We had 3 nominees for Business of the Year. Those nominees are Myers, General RV, and Roush and Associates. Mr. Suski, who does Business of the Year? 2014 Birch Run Business of the Year, General RV. Next is the Bridgeport Business of the Year. And the nominees for that, Subway, Bavarian Comfort Care, and AIS. And the winner of the 2014 Business of the Year for Bridgeport Subway. All right, 2014 Birch Run Citizen of the Year. Nominees were Mike Braun and Carrie Rushby. And this year's recipient for Citizen of the Year for Birch Run is Mike Braun. I believe Mike's son had a sporting event and was not able to make this. I'll make sure he gets it. Bridgeport, Citizen of the Year. Nominees, Robert Lick Jr., Dana Pop, excuse me, and Heather Wilson. And the winner is
Heather Wilson.
Heather Wilson.
The only thing I can say is you're only as good as the people around you, like God and the committee for Bridge Fest, and thanks to my friends and family and the committee that helped in the township, and I love Bridgeport and Bridge Fest, so thanks you guys.
At this time, we have our 50-50 drawing.
Last, anybody need some? Real quick? Not too big. Yeah, ready to go. $5 for 8.
While everybody's digging their pockets to get their last minute 50-50 ticket, I want to take this opportunity to give a special thanks to Stephanie Rader, the Chamber Office. Without her help, none of this would happen. Is that it? I said it once.
All right. Last call. Shake it up.
Tonight's lucky recipient is going to get $270.
Yeah. All right. Everybody, handy it up a bit. All right.
Chelsea, take you to the center, please. It's a blue ticket. And the winning ticket is 400 1 1 0.
Bingo.
No, it's not.
Oh, no.
400 110. going to close at 9:45. And with that, Mr. Letterman just donated $50 back to the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Mr. Letterman.